Hello and welcome. This lesson today is going to be about solving linear inequalities. Before we begin, let's go ahead and open the calculator by clicking on the calculator link. This way you have the calculator on one tab and the lesson or assignment on the other. Also, for this lesson, it will be important that you become familiar with this table, which demonstrates that the inequality signs of less than and greater than will mean empty points like these with dashed lines, and the symbols of less than or equal to or greater than or equal to will mean filled points with solid lines. A quick way to remember about these facts is if the inequality signs don't have a dash underneath, that means it will be empty points with dashed lines. And if there is a dash underneath the inequality signs, then you will have filled points with a solid line. Okay, let's go ahead and begin by doing the first example. So here's our first example. We're going to click on Show Your Work. And once you open, you'll see the problem there. You can make them bigger by clicking on the down arrow. That way you'll see the graph much bigger and the problem here on the side. In order to solve linear inequalities, it's very important that the y be alone. If you notice right here in this inequality, the y is not alone. So first order of business is to get that y alone. In order to do that, what we will do is we'll move the 6x to the other side. So let's go ahead and begin by clicking right here. I'm going to go ahead and change the color to blue. And I'm going to make it a little bit thicker. I'm going to press OK. And I'm going to use the T for typing to type my operations. So right here I'm going to write -4 y less than -6x plus 8. And then I can click on the pencil and scribble, and I can draw the inequality sign with the dash like that. Now, by moving the 6x, the y is not alone yet. So in order to get the y alone, I need to divide both sides of the equation by the number next to the y. So in this case, I'm going to divide both sides by -4. So let me go ahead and write -4 and -4. Okay, once I do that, that means that the negative will cancel, the 4 will cancel, and the y will be left alone. So let's go ahead and write that. So the y is alone. Also remember, if you divide by a negative number, the inequality sign needs to flip. So because I'm dividing by a -4 over here on the bottom, I need to flip the inequality sign. So let's go ahead and flip it. And let's go ahead and do the division. -6 divided by -4 using the calculator. So -6 divided by -4 gives us 1.5. Let's click right here to change this to a fraction. So then -6 divided by -4 gives us 3/2. So let's write 3, enter 2, and let's click right here and draw the little line for the fraction, and let's enter the x. And then we do 8 divided by -4 is -2. So there we go. And we can click right here on the rectangle, and right there we can box our answer. Now that we have the y alone, and one more thing I cannot forget is that inequality sign has a little dash right there. That's very important. Okay, now that we have the y alone, we need to identify our slope. So our slope right there, we can see that is 3/2. And our b, our y-intercept, is -2. Now that we have these two pieces of information, we're ready to draw our graph. Now because this is an inequality, we need to look right here at the inequality sign, and because I have a dash, I know that I'm going to use solid points and solid line. Let's go ahead and begin by drawing the first point, which is the y-intercept, which is b equals -2. So starting right here at the origin, I'm going to count down to -2, which is my y-intercept. And right there, I'm going to make my first point. Okay. Once I do that, I look at the slope, the slope says to go up 3 and then run 2 to the right. So I'm going to go over here to my y-intercept and I'm going to count 3 units up and then 2 units to the right, and that's where my second point is going to be. Then I continue that pattern until I fill in all the right sides. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 to the right, and that's my next point. And then go up 1, 2, 3, and 2 to the right, and that's my next point right there. Once I fill out the right side, I will return to the starting point, which is my y-intercept, and then I'm going to do the opposite of what the slope tells me to do. So instead of going up 3, I'm going to go down 3 units, 1, 2, 3. And instead of going to the right, I'm going to go to the left, 1, 2 units. And that's going to be my next point. And because I don't have more space to go down 3 and over 2, I'm done with my graph making points. The only thing left to do is to draw the line. So let's go ahead and draw the line by clicking here on the line and then connecting the dots, making sure the line crosses every single point at the right place. Once I've done that, the last step is to shade. Because this is an inequality, we're going to have to shade the inequality. In order to do that, we look at the sign of the inequality when the y is alone. So in this case, the inequality sign says greater than or equal to. So what we do is we go to the y-intercept, and let's imagine here is an elevator, and the elevator is sitting right there, and according to the sign, greater than, I want my elevator to be on a floor that is greater than the one I am right now. So greater than would mean that I want my elevator to go up. So if I ask the elevator to go up, my elevator would land in this area, which is above the line, and so that's where I'm going to shade. So I'm going to draw lines like this, showing that I'm shading this region of my graph. So right there is my shaded region. So basically this is the solution for this inequality. So let's go on to the next problem. Remember, you would click show your work. Once you open that, go ahead and click the down arrow to make your problem bigger. And again, looking at this inequality, I need to get the y alone. So first order of business is I'm going to send this 15x to the other side. So let me click right there on the text, and I'll write 6y because I'm going to bring down the 6y. I write the inequality sign, and the 15x moves to the other side, so it changes to positive, and I bring down the 24. Next step is to divide both sides by the number that's next to the y. In this case is 6, so I'm going to divide by 6 on both sides. And I go ahead and click on the pencil and line, and I draw a line to represent that I'm dividing. Very good. Now I'm going to do the division, so 6 cancels. The y is left alone. And if you notice, this time I am not dividing by a negative number, so that means the inequality sign stays the same. And now I perform the division, 15 divided by 6, and press enter, and make sure to convert to the reduced fraction, which is 5/2. So we're going to click right here and write 5/2. And let's go ahead and draw the line. And then we do 24 divided by 6. That would be +4. So right there, we got our inequality with the y alone. So in this case now, we can identify our slope, and our slope in this case is 5/2, and our b is positive 4. Very well. Looking at the inequality sign, we see that we don't have a dash underneath, so that means that I'm going to use empty points and dash line to do my graph. In order to do that, we can use this function right here, the circle on the Go formative program, and basically we're going to start by plotting the y-intercept. So we're going to put our pencil at the origin, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and at that point we can make a point using the empty circle, and then from there we can try to go up 5, but we can't, because remember right here is our slope, and our slope is telling us to go up 5 and then run 2 to the right. But because we cannot do that, then we return to the y-intercept and we do the very opposite. Instead of going up 5, we're going to go down 5 over 2. So let me select the circle again, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 to the left, and that's what my second circle will be. And then since I have more space, I can still go down another 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 2, and I draw my third circle. Now that I have done that, now I'm going to do my dash line. To do my dash line, I'm going to click right here, and I'm going to click on dashed lines right there, and I can click OK, and then I select one of the points. Whoops, I forgot to change to straight line. So click right here, click straight lines, and then I click right there, and then I go through the 3 points that I have. Okay, and if you notice right there, I'm trying to go through the intersection of the grid line to make my best line that goes through those 3 points. So right there is my line. The last thing I need to do is to do my shading, which I need to look at the inequality sign. The inequality sign says less than. So then I put my pencil at the y-intercept, and imagine that that's my elevator. And because the symbol is less than, that means I'm going to ask my elevator to go down. So that means my cursor or my pencil falls below the line, and that tells me that's where I'm going to shade. Now, please be careful. Right now, my line is a dash line, so I'm going to unclick the dash line, and now I can do my shading using straight lines. Okay, so that will be my shading, and that should suffice right there. Okay, so this is the region for the solution of this inequality. Let's go on to the next problem. So we'll go down here, click on show your work, click on down arrow so the problem can be bigger. And in this particular problem, we see that we have an inequality where the y is already alone. So all we have to do is identify our slope in y-intercept. So the slope is numbered with x, but since we don't have a number with x, so then the slope is 0. And the number without x, which is our y-intercept, is 1. Now if you remember, whenever the slope is 0, we expect to see a horizontal line. So let's go ahead and plot the y-intercept, and look in the inequality sign. We see that we have a dash underneath, so that means we're going to have a solid point. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my pencil at the origin. I'm going to go to 1, and that's where I'm going to make my first point. And since I already know that the slope is 0 and I get a horizontal line, I'm going to click right here. I'm going to make a thicker line and click on line, and I can draw a line that goes through that point right there, or y-intercept equals 1. Now all I have to do is do my shading, and because my symbol is greater than, I put my pencil at the y-intercept. Imagine that that's my elevator, and because the symbol is greater than, basically I want my elevator to be on a floor that is greater than the one I am right now. So my elevator is going to go up. So my elevator lands above the line, so that means that I'm going to shade above the line. So that basically that's where I'm going to shade. So here we go. And that's going to be my solution for this inequality. Let's go ahead and go to the next problem. So go here, click on show your work, down arrow. Let me reduce the size of my line there. And if you notice right here on this particular problem, we have x less than 4. We don't have a y. So that means this will be the special case where the slope is m equals undefined. And if you remember, undefined, that means that the line will be vertical. Now, because the line is going to be a dashed line, so let me go ahead and click right here and click on dash. I'm also going to make it a little bit thicker so it stands out. And now, with my cursor on the origin, and also let me make a straight line. With my cursor on the origin, I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and at 4, I can draw my vertical line. And if you notice right there, we have a dashed line. Now I'm going to click here again, and I'm going to unclick the dashed line, and now I'm going to do the shading. And because the symbol says less than, and please remember, this is a special case where you have a vertical line, so less than will be to the left, and then greater than to the right. Okay, so since this problem here we have less than, my shading will occur on this side of the line, on the left side. Okay, and that's pretty much my region for my answer. Let's go ahead and go on to the next problem. So I'm going to click on show your work, click on the down arrow, and on this particular problem we see that the y is alone, so that means we can identify their slope and y-intercept. So our slope is the number with x, so in this case would be -2, and because -2 is a whole number, remember to change into a fraction by putting 1 underneath. And then RB is the number without x, but in this case we don't have one, so their b is going to be 0. Okay, so then we click there, and looking right here, I notice I'm going to have a field point. So what I can do is I can click right here, and I can click on field shapes, and when I click on circle, my circles will be filled. So let's start with the y-intercept, which is at 0. I can click right there, and if you notice right there, it made a beautiful filled circle right there. And looking at the slope, that means that I'm going to go down to the right 1. So I'm going to go down to the right 1, and I make my next circle, and then down to the right 1, make my next circle, down to the right 1. And then once I finish the right side, I can go back to the starting point, which is the y-intercept, and I do the very opposite. Instead of going down to, I'm going to go up to, and instead of going to the right, I'm going to the left, and I continue making my point. So up to, 1 to the left, up to, 1 to the left, and I cannot go up anymore. So basically, I filled in with all my points possible. Now I'm going to draw my line, so I'm going to click at the line right here, and then starting at my point right here, I'm going to draw a line that crosses through all the points that I drew. So there we go. Now it's time to shade, and my shading is going to be greater than or equal to. So I move my cursor to my elevator or my y-intercept, and I ask, if I want a floor that is greater than the one I am, all I have to do is move the elevator up. So that means I'm going to fill in or shade this side of the line or above the line. So right there is my lines, and there we go. So this will be the region where the solution for this inequality will be. There we go. So this concludes this lesson right here. I just want to point it out. Please remember that if you have inequality symbols without the dash underneath, you're going to have empty points with dashed lines. And if you have a dash underneath the inequality signs, then you're going to have filled points with solid lines. I hope this video was helpful. Thank you very much for your time. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.